anyway, folks, listen, welcome to another episode. It's either episode 9 or 10. I don't know. It might even be 8 of the Nice and Nasty podcast. You know the script. I invite a guest on, and I let them know, or let the person know, that the government has outlawed all video games. They're all video games, whether arcade, online, whatever, are banished forever. But you can pick 3 games on any system. It can be anything at all you want. Broadband is available, Wi-Fi, whatever. So it can be an online game, it can be an arcade game, whatever. So my guest gets to pick 3 games, bearing in mind these are the only 3 games they will ever be able to play until they kick the bucket. That's the nice part. The nasty part is I ask them to pick 3 games which, for whatever reason, it might be because they're completely shit. It might be because, I don't know, they're too easy, they're not worth the money, bad game design, whatever. It could be anything. Or in one instance, I had somebody on a couple of weeks ago, he picked a game which I was astounded about, but the reason was because that particular game prompted a genre of gaming which he just didn't get on with. So it's a Nice and Nasty podcast. Now, I'm delighted to bring back an old mate. If I was to be honest, I have had more people messaging me, when are you and this guy going to make videos again? These are brilliant, and I didn't think it was going to happen, and I'm delighted. I'm not going to say Johnny Rotten is returning to Sex Pistols, but he's here for one night only. He might come back. We'll need to wait and see. So anyway, you know the name. It's Lukozer. How the hell are you, mate? It's been a few years.
It has been a few years, yeah. My ego is already starting to swell quite significantly after that intro. Yeah, either that or it really doesn't speak very highly of the rest of your content if the stuff with me in it is considered the best. Jesus Christ. Anyway, apart from that, yeah, I'm all right. Yeah.
You're doing well. You look like you've lost a bit of weight, have you?
Cheers. That's one of the most backhanded compliments you can ever pay anybody.
Not that you were ever, you weren't fat at all, but you look a bit.
Oh, I was. Yeah.
You been hitting the gym or something? Or?
No, Jesus Christ. Do I look like someone who would be doing that? No, the honest answer is I've no idea why I look thinner than previously, because I haven't done anything to warrant it. So
yeah. How I'm not going to go into any details, but how are you keeping anyway? Just much the same, mate.
Yeah, you know, I'm surviving. You know.
Aye,
we'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Now, obviously, we've not done any videos for quite a long time together. We have been put together with a mutual friend of ours, Panther UK. We've taken part in Son of the Sid show, which was my idea originally, but anyway, I'll give him it. Which is basically Panther's version of the Sid show, where we would collectively pick 5 Sids and play them in their entirety and talk about why we like them. So these were great videos, and obviously Lukozer and I have done some of the, in my opinion, some of the most entertaining videos that I've put out, which again might not be saying very much, but we've featured collective the top 10 or the worst 10 and whatever. It's been great, really good. So anyway, it's been great to see you back, or get you back on the channel. Obviously, you've been putting out. I mean, you're not that active on YouTube these days, are you?
No. Well, I was saying sort of briefly before we started this. Yeah. I still keep getting ideas for stuff that I'm going to do, and then as soon as I've got an idea, the next thing I'm thinking is, right, what excuse can I come up with for not doing this? And I come up with an excuse straight away, so I just don't bother doing them, you know. So I've really got to be in the mood for it. And the worst thing is that there have been, you know, plenty of occasions where I really do think, oh yeah, actually, yeah, I'm in the mood to do a video now. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. No, I don't think I'm going to start it now, though, you know. So... Yeah, I get these sort of like flashes of inspiration at the worst possible time, and then by the time I think, okay, right, I can now sit here and do it. I've already come up with a whole slew of reasons as to why why I won't bother.
Why you shouldn't? Yeah.
So they still come along every now and then, and they still will, but you know, I've got about as much idea of when the next one's going to be as you do. Yeah.
Aye. I know you obviously still. In fact, no, I'll not even mention the game because I don't want any kind of spoilers. But yeah, I mean, you've done quite a few videos with Panther, various generally around kind of, I was going to say rock music, heavy metal music. You've done various, and you did a four-parter, and that was, what was it? Did it start off? You were going to pick your top 20 each.
Well, yeah, the one you're thinking of, yeah, the 40 greatest metal songs of all time. And it was like we both picked 40. Originally, it was only going to be a top 10, and yeah, Chris eventually he got in touch with us and he said, "Look, right, I've got a list of about 24, and I don't want to cross any of them out." So I was like, "Okay, right, we'll make it a 30." And then my list ended up at about 35. So I said to him, okay, right, we'll make it a 40. And it was like, okay, top 40. Everyone knows the top 40, right? So we're going to stick with the top 40. So we did that. And then we did a part 5 with 11 sort of like also rans that didn't quite make it. So it ended up being a top 51. So yeah, a total of 102 songs being played there. And there was only one like duplicate. Yeah.
Seriously,
yeah.
I'm about. I think I've finished now. If I'm right in saying, I think each episode you split it into 4, and each one's about 4 hours. So there's about 16, 20 hours worth of material to listen to.
Yeah, and I had to edit that fucking thing, you know. I hate editing videos, so sitting there with like 20 hours of footage to do. Oh,
was there a lot of editing involved? I suppose toilet breaks and that kind of stuff. Was it?
Yeah, actually, there wasn't a hell of a lot. I mean, yeah, the old Carsey breaks kept cropping up, but other than that, the only editing that I really needed to do was put on, the MP3 of the song that was being played over the top of the regular audio, and that was about it. So yeah, there wasn't a lot, but there was enough, enough for me to deal with.
I would struggle to name 100 and bloody, is it 102, 104 you said it was?
Well, it was 102, if you combine both of our lists together. Yeah
And without any spoiler, I take it the final countdown did not make it into the top 104.
Shockingly, no it didn't, but Chris did choose a song by Europe, and it was Rock the Night, which to me, I mean, it is barely a step, above the final countdown. I could not believe it when he chose that.
Epic. So you've done that, and you've done a few like sort of film ones. You did an. I started listening to it and I switched it off because I had to go to my bed. But you did one where it's got an unusual one where is it Jim?
Yeah, Jim. Yeah, me, Jim, and Chris again. Yeah, we were doing the watch along, and we were watching 12 Angry Men, and it was supposed to be the first of like a series. I haven't abandoned the idea. I do want to do more. But yeah, the idea is I did a very short video announcing that it was going to be on, such a day at such a time, and it gave people the chance to go and get a copy of the film that we were going to be watching. And obviously because of copyright problems, we can't show the film on the screen, so we're all watching it. And anyone else who was there, hopefully they had their copy of the film and they'd be watching it along, and then they would type in their comments throughout, and we'd be talking about it throughout. And then at the end came the review and that, and it worked really well. So yeah, I do want to do some more of those, and hopefully it'll happen. I've got several films lined up that I would be featuring, we'll see how that goes with that one.
What was it? What did you get? Any decent feedback on that one? Then it was quite an
It,
unusual thing. Yeah.
it weren't bad. Yeah, you know, I certainly never got any shit comments or anything. Mind you, it's not that I read them anyway, but yeah, you know, everything that I saw, you know, whether it was during the stream, comments after it, and private messages, they all seemed to think it was a good idea.
At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to us. If everybody hated it, if you had a good time, that's all that matters. And that's why when I'm doing some of my live streams, I'll think, should I play? Fuck it, I'm going to play this. It's my fucking video. I'm going to play what I want to do. So you do what you want. That's that's the beauty of having your own channel. You're not obligated to pander to anybody. You know. So it's interesting.
No, not at all. I mean, I've never really done requests. You know, when I was doing me retro videos, it was always games that I wanted to cover for one reason or another. You know, even if it was, you know, even if it meant I was playing a game that I, you know, detested the mere existence of it. Yeah, it was always games that I chose. I didn't really go in for the requests or anything like that.
Yeah. What do you mind me asking? I think you probably said it on your channel. Do you mind me asking why did you decide to kind of like step back from making retro games videos?
Well, there were several reasons. The main one was that so many people who were watching it just didn't get it. You know, it was. You know, I was doing them to deliberately inflame people, and I was like, you know, and I was taking the piss, and it just kept going over people's heads, and in the end, I just thought, look, you know, I'm trying to sort of like appeal to the intelligentsia, not the masses, and I was getting like, you know, the exact opposite, and I was getting a bit narked with it, so that was probably the main reason. The other thing was, well, I was starting to run out of like titles that were worth covering. You know, I did 599 of them, and I was starting to really scrape the barrel with some of the game choices. I did have a few lined up that, I mean, they were big titles, but yeah, they certainly weren't good games, you know, not any of them. But you know, there are still titles there. So if the urge hits me, I could always do another one. The third reason is one that I suspect is going to crop up during this on several points. I keep getting these really annoying sort of like mental blocks. I know exactly what I want to say, and you know, and everything else, but the words just do not come to me, and I'm sitting here just going because the words not coming to me, and I find it infuriating, and it is getting worse. So I don't know why it's happening. It's a pain in the arse, but yeah, it's becoming really frustrating, so that's another reason.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm really conscious of that as well. Not just when I'm doing videos, when I'm in normal life, when I'm at work, and I'm just trying to think of the word. And actually, probably about 3-4 months ago, it felt like it was getting worse to the point I was actually starting to think, fuck, have I got like Alzheimer's or something? I was beginning to get worried that I might be had onset. But then I thought, I was talking to a few people, and I went, well, you remember, what did you have for your tea yesterday? Oh, that. And in my job, I've got to remember things. I thought, no. But I've been like that for a long time. I think it's extremely common. It is very common. I mean, I'm quite good at writing things. I can articulate pretty well, but when I talk, I just come out with you'll notice words like basically, and what I'm trying to say is people use the same fucking phrases.
I'm really guilty of that. I keep always saying stuff. Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is lots of people use that, and I'm really bad for that. I can think of the words, and I'm like, oh, what's that again? I'll say it, I go, what's that word? Oh, okay. And then you end up just saying something. There we go, I've just got it right now. You end up saying something far simpler to get the point across, rather than coming out with some fancy adjective. You just say, oh, that was rubbish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that was bloody disappointing. Oh, that was fucking crap.
Yeah. So so you know exactly. I think it's just an age thing. You know, I mean, we're both. You know, we're in our 50s now. You know, you can't. Anyone out there, you got to cut us some slack now, all right? Yeah. We're too old farts still play video games, for fuck's sake. You know.
Collectively, we're over a century. I think I'm older than you, but probably pull us just over 100-year-old anyway.
Yeah, we do.
But then when you think about it, you're getting one video with about 70 years worth of gaming experience.
Yeah, that is one way of looking at it. I'd not thought of it that way. I'm not quite sure if my gaming experience really does amount to very much, but well, I've certainly got the duration, if nothing else.
But no, I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot and say, are you going to return to the scene? Are you going to make more videos with me? I hope you do. I hope you do decide to do it, because, as I say, all the time when I'm playing a game, people will be, oh, you should watch Lukozer's review of blah blah blah, or watch this Lukozer's review of that. So I mean, your videos are entertaining, and I think there's something about it's far more fun making a video with some crap game than some game that's good. You know.
Well, I'll add a caveat to that. Yeah, it is when you do it every now and then, but when you start doing, like, you know, the majority of the stuff you're doing is all crap games, it gets a bit tedious then.
And I was mentioning about how I sometimes feel like I'm a parody of myself. I mean, like, I put the baseball cap. The reason I actually wasn't going to wear this, because it's a podcast, I thought, I don't want you getting dazzled with my shiny head, so I put the baseball cap on it.
Oh, okay. You did it for me. There you go.
But do you know, it's because you're the angry video gamer, you're the guy that rips games to shreds. People expect that, and then when people there's an expectation that you're going to get angry, and you're like, well, no,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, when I was doing those, if certain game titles cropped up there, everyone knew that I was going to just rip the fucking thing to shreds. You know, it was another reason why I was really trying to find games that you know, weren't huge, but still, like, you know, nothing like really ultra obscure, so that then there would be a bit of, okay, I don't know this one, is he going to rate this or not, you know, rather than being like really predictable. But then, I mean, there were also occasions where, you know, I was tearing apart games that a lot of people like. Super Pipeline 2, you know, I know someone who is a big fan of that. Fuck knows who it was. Can you imagine being a fan of Super Pipeline 2? Jesus Christ.
Sad
so, so, I mean, with that one, it was a piss take from start to finish, you know. I don't rate the game, but obviously I don't detest it to the extent that I went to on that video, you know. So yeah, there was some where I would deliberately sort of go out of my way to, you know, voice. It is still my opinion, but voice it a lot stronger than people would think, and especially if it's a game that loads of people like. I don't like it, therefore, okay, right, let's really piss them off and say, what
you're adding it for comedic effect, aren't you?
That's it.
So, no, brilliant. Right, listen, we're going to, we've been talking for quite a bit. We're going to start what this is, the Nice and Nasty podcast. So you've already heard the background. We'll say you're on a desert island, whatever. You can take 3 games with you, and these are the only games that you'll ever be able to play ever again. Go for game number 1. They don't have to be in any order at all. Game number 1, and why?
Right. Well, all the games that I've chosen for this section are for the PC. This is the oldest of the lot, sort of. Because it was originally released in 1999, but I am specifically going for a version that was re-released in 2019, and it is Age of Empires 2, the definitive edition. Now, why? Oh, you know, I love me real-time strategy games. I've been a fan of them for probably since I first played Dune 2 on the Amiga, and Age of Empires 2 has more or less from the year it was released. So we're talking 24 years. It has always been the definitive real-time strategy game, and the definitive edition brings enough new stuff there. Like visually, they've really improved it. In terms of audio, it's pretty much the same. There wasn't so much they could do with that one. But like there are a lot more civilizations available in it now. If you have all of the DLCs, which I do, there are like 40 civilizations there, and the AI is really well done. So there's always going to be a stage there where you're going to find the game challenging without being ridiculously hard, unless you want to really like crank up the AI, in which case you're likely to get your ass kicked. I just think it is by quite some distance the best real-time strategy game that was ever released. And as soon as you suggested this whole podcast thing to me, the first thing I thought was, right, well, Age of Empires 2 is going on there, so
Stick on. As you know, we were talking about this before, and I went and bought it, and as I do, I play games for 5 minutes and I move on. And it's not because it's a bad game, but Is it kind of, it's not turn based, so it's real time, a bit like Command and Conquer real time. You're fighting different factions and whatever. I do like my turn based stuff as well, but this is all entirely real time. Because I remember when you bought this, and I was quite surprised that you did, because this is the sort of game where, if you're playing it for half hour, that is a really short game. You could be playing this easily for, like a couple of hours, which is the sort of game that I really like. I like games, especially nowadays. I like games that, have like really long, in-depth gaming sessions, and you've got to think about what you're doing. You can't just sort of like, let's just put this here, here, and here, and do it all randomly. No, you're not going to get anywhere doing that. So, and I do like games that make you think. So, again, it makes this one a winner for me. Yeah, and is it like Command and Conquer? Now, so I keep going back to Command and Conquer because actually, I had a hankering to play Command and Conquer about 2 months ago, and I thought, oh well, man, I loaded it up on DOSBox, and it looked shit on a big screen. So I thought, well, man, I'm sure I bought that in bloody Steam. So I went onto my Steam thing, and it turns out I'd bought it on the EA, whatever it is. So I had to fucking download the EA thing.
Yeah,
in fact,
Origin.
No, I tell a lie. I had the EA thing installed, and it came up Command and Conquer, click, run, whatever, to start game. And then it chugged along for a few seconds. It came up internal error. What was that telling me? Please try again later. Try it. Anyway, I then gave up, and I went to Steam, and lo and behold, there's an upgraded version, and it's got better graphics. I started playing it with the high-res graphics. I thought, nah, and I put it back to the old blocky kind of the graphics that I was used to. So we can't Command and Conquer. You have like a mission or whatever, or a campaign, and then you get to the end, you win. Is it the same with not Civilization, Age of Empire? Is it like a second level? You complete one level and then you move on. It's a different.
Yeah, there are multiple campaigns in it. Almost every civilization has. They all appear in a campaign. It's sort of like a bit of a 50-50 split between whether they're going to be there as the civilization you're playing as, or if they're going to be the enemy civilization. So there's something like about I'll say there's about like 10 different campaigns within it. And if you get one of the recent ones, which was the Return of Rome, there's something like another 5 campaigns in that. Because that's a bit of a weird DLC. I think it's great, but you don't play it within Age of Empires 2. So, because Rise of Rome was an expansion for the original Age of Empires game, and they brought out a definitive edition of the original Age of Empires as well, but it wasn't very good. I've got it, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, and the player numbers are never there. So rather than release this DLC for Age of Empires, and they would know, yeah, it's not going to sell well, they released it for Age of Empires 2. But you run it sort of separately from the full game. You've got it gives you're basically playing the original Age of Empires, but using the Age of Empires 2 engine. And yeah, so you've got an additional, say, 5 campaigns there. So you've got 15 campaigns plus there's the skirmish modes, which is what I play most often. I just go in there and do like the individual skirmishes, but I do like to sort of set it so that, yeah, everything's going against me and seeing how well I can do from that. So I'll go in, I've beaten the AI at the most extreme level, which is extreme. With that, I'll only go like 1v1, but if you go on to like either moderate or hard, yeah, I'll have like me against like 3 other enemies around, you know. So I like the challenge.
Also, can you pick? Presumably, you don't play it. Do you play it against other online people, or is it all computer generated?
Oh yeah, you can do either or. So yeah, you're not limited to just the AI. You can go online and play. I play. It's not usually like 1v1 games, but we usually play co-op ones, and I'll play that with Jim from the who's been in some of the other vids, and Stuart, who's a mate of Jim's, and he is so much better than me and Jim. I'm probably the worst of the 3 of us, and yeah, Stuart's out there, he's slaughtering like enemy civilizations, while me and Jim are still like building up a fucking village. You know, we're nowhere.
So, all right, so the 3 of you can you club together and you're taking on a kind of common enemy.
Yeah, exactly. You can have, you know, like, player v player, or you can have, like, you know, however many players you want, and you're all, like, you know, on the same side and going up against the one enemy. You know, if you really wanted to. 7 players versus 1 AI, yeah, that's a bit one-sided.
You'd balls of steel with that one. So you're saying there's about 40 different, like, civilizations. So does it start off sort of like Stone Age type thing, and then is it all real civilizations? It's not made up.
Oh yeah. It's all like genuine historical civilizations from, like, you know, the Middle Ages and the medieval era. Apart from maybe one, because there is the Roman civilization. You think, well, hang on, the Roman Empire didn't really exist sort of like beyond you know, like about 430 AD. I mean, there was the Byzantine Empire, and they're in the game. But yeah, there is now also a Roman one. So that one, yeah, it's got a bit of a question mark about the historical accuracy there. But the rest of them are all very much like, well, you know, known historical.
Yeah, and I suppose what makes that different from like Command and Conquer. Command and Conquer, you've got the same. You can build troops, you can build whatever it is, turrets and what have you. I suppose when you're playing a specific civilization like the Stone Age, you're going to be throwing sticks and rocks at people, but then when you get to like World War II or whatever, you're going to have planes and cannons.
Well, I mean, this doesn't go that far into the future, or you know, towards the present rather. So it starts off at the Dark Age. The next era, I believe it or not, I can't remember. I think the next era is the Medieval Age. Then it's the Castle Age, and then it's the Imperial Age. The 4th is the final. So that's That's as far as it progresses. But I mean, you're still building, you know, like huge great castles, and you're still using huge bloody great trebuchets to knock the things down, you know. So there's plenty there. And also, no two civilizations are exactly the same. They all have their own unique unit, and they all have like various, advantages and disadvantages. So it's not just graphical differences between them. There are actual like gameplay element changes between them as well.
Yeah, it's like the Romans against medieval. Can you mix them?
Yeah. Well, you can do that one. You can have the Romans going up against, you could have the Romans fighting against the Byzantine Empire, which, that would be an interesting one. The Roman one is, I say, that's the odd one out. All the rest, they were all around at the same sort of like era, you know. So it all makes sense in a historical sense.
I know it sounds like a real interesting game. I would imagine it doesn't require quite a bit of investment to get it. Hopefully they don't bring out DLC for like the current times, so you're playing like the Picts against World War III, nuclear bomb.
Oh no, they wouldn't do that. There is a game actually, it's another RTS game called Rise of Nations, which I'm also a huge fan of. That also has some turn-based elements in it as well. I love that one, but that's one where you start off basically pretty much in the Stone Age, and you go right the way through to the nuclear age, and you're sending out B-2 stealth bombers and dropping nuclear missiles on them and that. So it goes right the way through. Obviously, it doesn't have anything like the depth in each of the ages, but that's another RTS that I really like, but still doesn't compare to Age 2.
I've not heard of that one, I must admit. Is that quite a new one? Is that one that came out fairly recently?
No, that one's that one is quite old. I think it was another one like this definitive edition here. They did bring out like an updated like HD version of it. I absolutely recommend it to anybody who likes RTS games. Chances are most RTS fans will probably already have it, but it is another great one, that.
Mm-hmm. No, excellent. Listen, it's a good choice, and I can imagine can you complete the game, or is it one of these games where you'll never get bored of playing it?
You can complete it. You can complete all of the campaigns, but bearing in mind that I've been playing this game on and off for 24 years, I've only ever completed 2 campaigns, and one of those is the tutorial. So the campaigns are really tough. You've got to be a good player to be able to do well in the campaigns.
So what, man, you've been playing it for 24 years, so it's taking you about 12 years to do one, averaging 12 years per campaign.
I mean, to be fair, it has been quite a while since I last tried to do any of them, so I might be able to actually get somewhere if I tried one now. But so far, I've done 2, and like I say, one of those is the tutorial. So Stevie Wonder could complete that one.
Well, if I started playing now, I might just complete one before I kick the bucket. Anyway, no, listen, I can totally get why you would want to take that to your underground bunker thing, whatever it is. So game number 2, and why? What and why?
Right. Game number 2. Right. I have a feeling I might be the first person to do this. But my second choice is a game that I don't have and I've never played. But there's a reason for it, because it's a role-playing game. I love role-playing games. Again, I'm a big role-playing game fan. And role-playing games are always at their best the first time you play it, because you really do have no idea what's coming. You don't know what the campaign is. You don't know what any of the missions are going to be. Nothing. So it's all completely new. And that's what I really like. So my game number 2 is Baldur's Gate 3, which came out this year. So this one, I can't remember how long it's been since Baldur's Gate 2 came along, but it's been a long old fucking time. And this has been like, massively updated compared to the two previous ones. Visually, it's very much along the same sort of lines as, say, Dragon Age Inquisition, which I think looks fantastic. But this one, obviously, the visuals are much more up to date. And bearing in mind that Dragon Age Inquisition came out in about 2014, I think it was. So, but yeah, it looks and plays much like that, which sold me almost straight away. It's using all of the latest AD&D rules. I think they're up to version, is it 3.5? Might even be up to version 4 now. But it's using the latest AD&D. It's got all of like the races, all of the character classes, all of like, you know, the skill trees and everything else that you get in a full AD&D one. So as much as I like Dragon Age Inquisition, and I could also certainly throw in Dragon Age 2 with this, they are rather simplified RPGs. This is a full-blooded, full-on RPG. So if you like the real sort of like hardcore ones, like the first two, the only two, Neverwinter Nights games, and the first Dragon Age game, you know, and of course the first two Baldur's Gate games. If you like that sort of level of RPG, then you know this delivers it, but with the up-to-date visuals from, like I say, like from Dragon Age.
Yeah. So what is the graphical style? Is it like isometric or something? Or what?
Oh no, it's a full 3D
Sort of first-person not command and conquer.
well,
Call of Duty type thing, yeah.
It's third person, but yeah, that's sort of vein there, you know, and yeah, it just looks staggering. I know that this is the ridiculous thing, right? It's one of those games where I have seen a couple of short videos of it, but that's all I've seen. But I know, even though I've not played it, I'm going to be getting it later this month. But yeah, I've not played it. I don't own it, but I already know I'm going to fucking love it.
You'll love it. What I can say is the girl that sits opposite me at my work, she bought it when it came out. Well, it was this year, and she's completed it. And she was on holiday last week, and she spent. She started. She bought, or she's got Game Pass. She started playing that Starfield, and she said the sync was the music and the sound was all out and jittery, and she thought, "Fuck that!" Switched it off. Baldur's Gate. She said she played. She's completed it, and she's now she spent Monday and Tuesday last week. She lives on her own, playing Baldur's Gate 3 again. That's I know nothing about the game, but I can only tell you that she thinks it's fantastic. She's completed it, and she's restarted it. She wants to go through it again. So
yeah, I mean, I'm like a lot of like hardcore RPG fans. You know, if I can spot where to go to in order to complete, like, you know, the main campaign, that's the last place I go. I've got to explore everything else first before I move on. You know, so the chances are, like my first playthrough, if it's anything like Dragon Age 3, in that I racked up, it was over 120 hours before I completed it. I reckon with Baldur's Gate 3 it's going to go way beyond that. So yeah, I'll certainly get plenty of time sunk into it.
I think she told me that she just kind of did what you're not going to do. She just kind of went, kind of just rushed to the end, complete the level, move on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't do that. I've got to see as much of the game as I possibly can. So yeah, I will go off exploring here, there, and everywhere.
You want to rinse it to the very nth degree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like that with every role playing game.
Well, I'm like that with my the only modern game I'm playing right now is Power Wash Simulator, and yeah, it's exactly what you think.
Yeah,
you just wash things with a power washer, and it's literally just. And I've got it in Game Pass, and I've completed it. I've completed every single level, and I mean, some of the things can take days to complete. It tells you you've got a wee bar, so if you're washing, like, say the wall of a castle, you'll see it like 100% dirt, and the more you wash it, it goes down. And you end up like a tiny ball hair of dirt, and you spend hours looking for this little bit that you've missed. So I've completed it, and now I'm on to like the bonus. I've seen the end credits, and now I'm on the bonus thing. But where am I going with that? Yeah, I'm just total OCD, and it's a utterly pointless game.
I was going to say,
Pointless.
are they going to release a DLC called the OCD expansion pack for that one? Jesus.
And I've just heard that they're bringing it out for the bloody Oculus Quest, so I'll need to get it in that. Absolutely. Can you imagine power washing in 3D?
Well, how about this for an idea? Buy a power washer. It's probably a damn sight cheaper than an Oculus Quest. You can do the real thing.
But you don't get your feet dirty when you're playing it in VR or on the PC.
In that case, the expense is well worth it then, yeah.
I maybe need to get a different career, I think. Power wash. There we go, yeah.
By the sounds of it, you need something. Possibly psychiatric, but yeah.
It's one of these games. I mean, was it last week? I got in Friday night, and I sat down, and I think I had my dinner, and I thought, just play a bit of Power Wash Simulator. And, are you all right?
Well, I mean, if it keeps you entertained, okay, go ahead.
So I sat down, started playing it, and then about what I thought was an hour later, my daughter came down at about 11 o'clock. She said, "Dad, why are you sitting in the dark playing that?" And I'd been sitting for like 4 hours.
Oh, Jesus. Well, yeah, well. Jesus Christ.
But anyway,
that
3. What? Bear in mind, you're on this desert island. What do you think? What's going to make you think that I fancy playing Baldur's Gate 3 today, or that play? Are they not too similar, or are they completely different?
Between what, Baldur's Gate 3 and
I mean,
which?
are you going to play one on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and the other one and?
Well, what I tend to do when I get like, certainly if I'm getting a new game, I will play nothing but that for at least a couple of months.
Which is what you should do, yeah.
So and of course the other thing is with role-playing games, I always play them as magic users. So if I fancy something different, I can always go back to it and say, right, this time I'm going to play as a fighter, which I never do, so I'm probably going to be fucking hopeless at it, but I'll give it a go. So there will always be something, something new there for us. Well, I think so. I mean, there's bound to be some people listening who are not really role-playing game fans who are going to think, well, what's the difference? Just because you're playing as a different character. But because with a magic user, most of the time you're going to be attacking from range. With a fighter, you've got to get up there, up close, and deal with them, with like melee weapons. Which means that all of the stats that you're increasing as you're gaining levels in that, you've got to change different stats because magic users are not physically strong. They can't take the hits. Whereas, of course, as a fighter, you've got to be able to. So, yeah, there is. I think there is absolutely longevity in that. And when you consider that the original Dragon Age, I forget when it came. I think it was about 2005. I think that came out. And I still play that today. So, that's 18 years. So, I certainly get plenty of mileage out of
and you wouldn't just play one of them. You would think, I quite fancy playing Baldur's Gate 3 today, and then they're sufficiently different that keep you busy.
Yeah, of my choices of games. You mean what you're comparing Baldur's Gate 3 and
Yeah.
Age
If
of
you're on the
Empires
desert
2?
island, you've got both these games. Are you going to want to play both of them?
Oh
Or
yeah,
are you
yeah.
going?
I mean,
Yeah.
they're so, you know, they couldn't really be much more different from each other. So
Aye.
yeah, there is certainly the variety there.
Yeah.
It's also, of course, another one where it's testing the old grey matter. You know, there is bound to be areas where you got to think about what you're doing, which again, you know, I really like that.
Yeah. Do I use magic or not? I mean, I've played Gauntlet. Do I use the
Oh,
magic?
there you go. So
Yeah. I'm
yeah.
playing.
I mean, how much more experience do you need in the old RPG field?
So that is game number 2. Game number 3, what would it be?
Right, game number 3. Well, I thought long and hard about this one, and this is I think this is going to surprise quite a lot of people, including you. Because it's a game that came out in 2014, and no, it's not going to surprise anyone because it's Elite Dangerous.
I thought you were going to surprise me by not picking it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, I'd chosen it, but not with a tremendous amount of enthusiasm. Because here's the weird thing with Elite Dangerous. I mean, obviously, yes, I've played the game to death, and I still play it. So it's got to be doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
Would I recommend it to anyone? No. I would, you know, someone came up to me and said, "Oh, you play Elite Dangerous a hell of a lot. I don't have it. Do you recommend buying it?" I'd tell them, no, I don't.
That's interesting.
Well, the thing is, of course, I was there right from the start. I mean, I started playing it 10 years ago during the Beta 1. So, throughout the beta, there were various issues. Some of them were sorted. Some were left to rot and are still in the game to this day. But when the game was actually published, because I've already been playing it for the best part of a year, when it came out, it's like, okay, there's nothing new here. You know, it's just exactly the same thing I've been doing for the past however long. And it's taken quite a while, but it has now absolutely got to the point where there is plenty to do in it. In fact, so much so that now, if you've never played the game before and you buy the whole thing, so you also get the Odyssey expansion as well, there is so much there that you can now do that it's almost overwhelming. You know, it's like, okay, where do I start? You know, what do I do first? You know, and of course, with that game, as it always goes, there's no right or wrong answer. You know, if what you do works out for you, then yeah, okay, it's the right thing. But no one, there are plenty of people on YouTube that do this, but no one can say to you, no, you're doing it wrong if you do that, you've got to do this. No, that's absolute horseshit. If the game allows you to do it a certain way that you want to do, and you end up, you know, being successful doing it that way, then that is the right way for you. It may not be right for anyone else, but it is for you anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, considering the game is still being developed today, there are bugs and glitches galore in it. There are so many new features that get added, but they are implemented in such a rudimentary way as to put people off, and quite rightly. So, okay, I've put in, I don't know exactly how many hours, but I know it totals over 18 months. And
that is continuous playing.
Yeah.
24/7. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously, yes, it's doing something right for me. There is still a challenge there for me, but yeah, it's a hard sell for me to recommend it to anybody, because I say the bugs and the glitches in it drive you to despair. They are so infuriating, and some of them, I say, have been there for years, and they are never going to get fixed. And they are starting to scale things back a bit now. Frontier developments don't use their own servers for the game because the whole thing has to be played online. Even if you're playing it solo, it's still got to be done online.
Seriously? Oh,
Yeah. Which, I don't like that either. I think that's a shit move.
Bullshit.
And when they brought out the last major update, which was update 16, they also rather quietly scaled back the availability of like the servers. See, they use Amazon servers. They just rent servers from there. They don't have their own. And because Amazon servers have this feature where they can, increase the amount of capacity available to a game that's using it. If the demand's there, then it will go up, and if the demand isn't there, then it reduces it so that you're not having to, you don't have quite so many overheads and that. But of course, that feature, and I know that feature exists because a mate of mine is the bloke that programs the code for Amazon that makes that feature happen. So I know it's there, and I also know that Amazon charge you for it. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, so it's obvious what Frontier Developers have done. They are no longer paying that charge, so now they no longer have that. So the servers that we've got, there's no flexibility there, and they are not great. There's a lot of areas where you're sitting there and you're waiting for the servers to catch up with what you've done. So it does get a bit infuriating.
Yeah.
But a game that I have put over 18 months gameplay into it, yeah, of course I do like playing it, and it's not going to change. I'm still playing it today. I did a fucking live stream of it just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
So I will carry on.
Yeah, I mean, I tune into your videos sometimes, and you'll say, "Okay, what's Main Meister doing here? You should go playing it." And the reason I like to watch it is it is a staggeringly beautiful game. And sorry, I'm going to rewind for a wee bit. You said a phrase earlier on, overwhelming, and I think that's the problem I have with most modern games. Your Fallout 4s, your Zeldas, Baldur's Gate 3, give me Boulder Dash 3. I feel even things like Grand Theft Auto 5. I start playing these games and then I think, right, what am I supposed to do now? And I get overwhelmed with I could be doing that, and I think I'm missing out because I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. I think I'm obviously missing out the point of the game, and I just give up. And obviously I attempted to play Elite and that kind of stuff. But when I watch you playing it, I mean, it's beautiful when you're like mining for stuff, and it could be out there. I mean, it could be film quality graphics, and I get jealous, like the fact that you've immersed, you know that the game inside out, and when you're talking to people about the game, it's almost like a way of life, and it's like you've got so deep into it, and people that do play it, Panther included, I know he's put a lot of time into it. They get so engrossed, and it almost becomes a place to hang out. You go into Elite Dangerous, it's not a game, it's something a bit more than that.
Yeah, there is certainly a degree of that, yeah. I think what helps is that I also played the first 3 games quite a lot before this, so it wasn't like, complete jump into the deep end. I knew what to expect. You get a lot of people complaining that there are so many aspects of this game that that's a grind. Now, if you've played the game, from the original one, and you played Frontier and you played First Encounters, you will know full well that is the gameplay. If you find it a grind, you may as well stop playing now because it's never going to change. That's what it has been from day one. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. The other thing is with the thing about being overwhelmed because there is so much to do. It's a problem that I have with a lot of these like open-end games. I'm glad I started playing this when I did, even though I didn't rate it very highly back then because there wasn't much to do, but it meant that I could always focus on just like 2 or 3 things. If I was to start it now from scratch, I wouldn't know where to start. But of course, as all these new features were being brought in, I'd already, I'd got my ratings up to elite. I had enough fucking credits to do whatever I like with, and all this. So as the new features came in, I was able to focus purely on those and do all of the new stuff that came along. Which, of course, new players, and there really aren't very many new players coming in now. They would find it rather overwhelming. They wouldn't know where to start, and then you start thinking, well, if I focus on this, then I'm missing out on all this, and this.
That's the problem I have with all these games. I just submissions and all this kind of shit, I mean, you were obviously kind of drip fed the game. You started playing Elite Dangerous. I mean, I absolutely adored Elite on the Commodore 64. I got to was Dangerous. I think that was the highest I got. I never really got on with Frontiers on the Amiga because it was jerky, and I never really got into it. And I have dabbled with Elite Dangerous, but I think the last time I played it, I got caught in the mesh outside one of the stations.
I remember that. Yes, because you were teamed with me, and I was watching you, and you were having trouble just docking the space station, and I just remember thinking, this isn't going well. But I was really surprised that you actually bought the game, because you've admitted on plenty of occasions, including tonight, that you don't have the longest attention span, and there have been plenty of occasions where I see you will start up a game, you'll have one go of it, and then you turn it off and play something else. With a game like this is one of those games where you start it up, you start playing it, and the next thing you know, 5 hours have gone by. So it's a real time sink, and if you are either unable or unwilling to put hour after hour after hour into it, then there's really not much point in trying to even get started in it.
It's not even so much I get bored. I mean, perfect example, bloody Power Wash Simulator. There's no many controls other than you move the stick up and down and squeeze the stick out to bring the water out. So I totally like, and I kind of miss as much as I love old computer games. I never ever sit and think, I think I'll have a game of Super Pipeline 2 today. I play them when I'm making videos, and that's about it. I don't really play old games anymore. And I love getting... I couldn't even tell you the last time I got a game where I couldn't wait to get home at night to play. I can't wait to play that again, like Doom and Doom 2, all these games. And I miss that aspect of having a game. The problem is I've got too many games, and one of the guys that was on this podcast, in fact, 2 people, spoiler, picked the same game as one of their 3, and it was the latest Zelda game. And the funny thing is, one of the guys, he's a mate of mine's, he is one of the best arcade players. He spent his youth in the arcades of London, and he's fucking insanely good at games. And he picked Zelda, whatever it's called, as his favourite game, and I'm like, fucking hell, I couldn't believe it. Really, I was astonished. And he described to me what it was about the game. So I went out and bought it, and I've played it for about an hour, and I thought, I'm like, shit, I'm fucking bored of it, and I've not gone back to it. So but so it's interesting you're saying you can't recommend it, and is it because you think that people newbies to the game like myself would just become overawed with what they do now? It's difficult.
That does play a part in it, but my main reason for not recommending it is that the bugs in it and the glitches in it, which have been in there for years, are so annoying. And when you encounter them, because sometimes you can be doing really well, then this bug comes along and it just totally fucks it up, and it is infuriating. And if you are just starting out and you get that happening to you, and it could almost like put you back to square one, that's it. You're never going to touch it again, and the chances of that happening are pretty high. So if you've played it, see, there's also, of course, with all the expansions for it now. You were really unlucky actually with the expansions, because I know you bought the base game, and then you bought the Horizons expansion. And 5 days after you bought it, Frontier Developments made it available free to everybody who had the base game. So the only expansion now to buy is the Odyssey one, but that adds so much more to it that the temptation would be to go out there and buy that, at the same time, and that's when, let's say, it does then get a bit overwhelming. But I mean, if someone is, doesn't have the game but they are interested in it, and they would say to me, "Look, right, I want to buy it," then I would say, right, well, in that case, get everything. So buy the base game and Odyssey. But if you've got just the base game, and therefore you've also got Horizons, where you land on the planets and drive around in the surface vehicle, and you're enjoying that, then I'd say stick with it. You don't need to get the Odyssey expansion. So, yeah, I'm a bit divided on it. It's I can't say I hate it, of course not. I used to. I went through a few phases where I hated it, but yeah. I play it far too much. If I was to sit here and say I hate it, no one's going to believe me, and for good reason. So
you've been playing it for 18 months solid. That's not bad. That's not bad value for about 40 quid you outlay or whatever.
Well, when I bought it during the beta, it was 35 quid, and I also got the lifetime expansion pass at the same time. That was another 35 quid. So, of course, when Horizons came along, that paid for that, and I got Odyssey for free. So, yeah, I've paid. Actually, I paid a lot more than that, because there is quite a lot of paid for DLCs, cosmetic items and stuff like that. I've bought plenty of those, so I've probably shelled out about 100 quid. But I mean, the fact that it's 18 months game time, it's not done badly.
Well, listen. 10 pence an hour or something, it works out.
Probably a lot less than that.
Not bad. Just before we move on, have you? I saw an advert for No Man's Sky, which I believe, it got panned, probably rightly, when it first came out, because they're making all these ridiculous promises about finding planets, and you can name it Mainmeister Planet and all this kind of shit. But they've been putting out all these updates for the last 3-4 years. Oh,
they've been bringing out updates for it more or less since the game was published.
Yeah,
it was panned by a lot of people, but not by me. I got that on day one of release, and I loved it, and I still really do love that game. But there is a bit of a problem with it, and if Erodian, who I know visits your channel fairly often as well as mine, is watching, he can tell you all about this, and it has now affected my game as well. But yeah, there is a bug which I think they might have fixed it by now. I'm not 100% sure on it, but they might have fixed it now. But it corrupts your save game. So when you start the game up and you try and load your save game, it puts you right back to the start again, and it just will not work. Now, obviously, with a bug like that, there is no point playing it, because you just can't get anywhere, because every time you start it up, you've got to start from the beginning again. So if they fix that bug, then I would start playing it again tomorrow.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that probably 3 years ago about that bug. I mean, you think they must have fixed it, because it wouldn't sell. I mean, the video I saw, it was just a couple of days ago, it looked jaw-dropping.
Oh yeah.
It's like a film. I was like, fucking hell, this has come on in leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic game. I'm a huge fan of it, but the only reason I don't play it is because of that bug. I've got to at some point fire it up and try it out, because if they have fixed it, then yeah, I'll be going back to that.
If that bug hadn't existed, could that possibly have affected your third choice?
Easily, that would have been my third choice. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Bar that bug.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a serious enough bug, It means you pretty much, there is no point trying to play it unless you leave the game on, all the time, because as soon as you save it and then exit it, your save's corrupted, and you're back to square one again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, three quite strategy-based games. 3 games that obviously take a lot of investment, but you know, if you were to tot up the number of years that you've played these 3 games, there's quite a bit of.
Well,
Quite a
two of
bit,
them,
yeah.
two of them, yeah, I've certainly played for a long time. Baldur's Gate 3, that doesn't add a hell of a lot to the total game time yet, but it will.
But anyway, as we know, it's not all ice cream and jelly. There's the vegetables part, which is the nasty part of the podcast. This is where I ask you to pick 3 games, which, for whatever reason, quite simply should never have existed and should have been banished to hell. In no particular order. What would the game of shame number 3 be?
Why do I get a horrible feeling that anyone listening to this, they've just fast forwarded to this bit, haven't they? Right. Well, before I say the first 3 games, I added 2 of my own caveats to this. Firstly, anyone who's even vaguely familiar with my channel knows how much I detest cutesy platform games, so I've deliberately left them out because I wanted to put in something different. Because otherwise I could just say, right, okay, New Zealand Story, Rainbow Islands, Rodland, there you go. So, you know... So there's no cutesy platformers here, right?
That was too obvious, that one, anyway. Yeah,
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Stealing one of my choices as well.
Okay, yeah, I can't do that then, can I? No. The second thing is there are plenty of like really shit games, like, you know, Bionic Granny. I know has been chosen a couple of times, and like the A-Team and Alfieda's Own Pet and, you know, Crazy Cars 2, you know, where it's blindingly obvious that there was no effort made whatsoever, you know, to actually put this game together.
Yeah.
So I've ignored games like that, and I've gone for 3 games that, at least on the surface anyway, it looks like they have actually tried to, you know, make an effort with it, and it still ended up being an enormous fucking shit pile. So, with those 2 caveats in mind, I can also tell you all 3 of my choices for this section are all for the Amiga. And
controversial.
The first one is a game that came out in 1990, released by Psygnosis Software, because we all know them for, you know, all show and no substance. And it is the Killing Game Show. I really cannot find the words to show how much I absolutely fucking detest this game. It's incredibly boring. It is ludicrously hard. And okay, I've said no cutesy platformers, right? But I'll describe what you're meant to do in this game. So it's,
I know where we're going with this.
Yeah, you know where I'm going. I think I've said this before. But yeah, so you've got to get from the bottom of the level to the top ahead of the rising water levels, whilst shooting stuff and, you know, shooting enemies and collecting power-ups. Well, I've also just described Rainbow Islands. So this game is Rainbow Islands with a sort of like techno sort of like, you know, reskin applied to it.
I never thought about that. Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't have any redeeming features. Right, the music is staggeringly bland. But even though the Amiga has got like 5 audio channels, you've got the choice of either music or sound effects, but you can't have both. Now, the sound effects are staggeringly bland. Most of the game is almost played in near silence. So the sound effects, yeah, really generic, absolutely, like, you know, completely forgettable. So you think, okay, right, I'll put the music on instead, so at least I can actually hear something. But the music is incredibly generic, incredibly bland. And because there's no sound effects, you can't hear if your shots are hitting the enemies or if anything's hitting you and draining your health or anything like that. So you've either got crap music that means you can't hear anything else, or you've got really drab, boring sound effects and playing it largely in silence. And and then it has that unbearable fucking intro sequence, which, okay, when you see it the first time, it looks great. But you watch it again now, and for a start, you can't skip it. So if you were to, start the game up, you've got to sit through this fucking intro sequence. But it's, you see this robot thing that you are controlling, and it gets up. And what is basically a cardboard target is moving towards it, and it starts shooting at it. And it takes something like, 30 seconds of continuous fire from this thing to destroy a fucking cardboard bloody cutout. And that's actually a really good sort of letting you know what you're in store for. Because it's another one of these shoot-em-ups that I absolutely detest, where the weapons you've been given are nowhere near good enough. Everything you're shooting, you've got to shoot it like about half a dozen times before it's taken out. Meanwhile, they accidentally breathe on like one of the hairs of your arm that you blow up. That really does infuriate me. So, it really is an absolutely hateful gaming experience. I'll tell you one thing that really does sum up how bad this game is. The reviewer, Gans Teeth, I'm a big fan of. I've known him for quite a while. He loves his shooters. And he is really fucking good at shoot 'em ups. He was doing some live streams a few months ago, and he completed Whizball on his first attempt. He's fucking good at shooters. He hates the Killing Game show, and he thinks it's too fucking hard. Now, if he thinks it's too fucking hard, then someone like me, it's no wonder I can't get fuck all nowhere in it. Awful, absolutely contemptible.
It's interesting you've picked that game because, funnily enough, I was doing an Amiga platform stream on Sunday, and I was asked to play that game. And what I found when I played it, when I was, I can't remember who asked me to play it. I thought, oh fucking hell, this is shite.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was all right. But I only played it I had a couple of games, and I thought, oh, this is actually better than I imagined. I obviously didn't scratch the surface off it, but it was rock hard. And to play a game twice, you can't say, oh, that's a great game, it's a shit game. But I get what you're saying. If I remember rightly, I think it defaults to music, and it's very monotonous. It's tedious, and it's gone. And that Psygnosis were really, really guilty of this. They were one of the first kind of they were one of the first companies. They were an early 16-bit company. I think some of the guys from Imagine Software moved over to Psygnosis, and their graphics, the games had stunning looking graphics, but the gameplay, nobody even bothered to look at gameplay. They were clunky and. I could name a few other games, Barbarian and that kind of stuff. Fucking awful. And Killing Game Show on, if you take a snapshot of it, you think, that looks really, really good. But even the colour of your robot, somebody commented in the video saying, you can't see it against the background. It was like the same colour.
Yeah.
And it's like it also reminded me of a game, I don't know if you've played it before, what's it called? You're a cat. No, you're not a cat. What the fuck are you? You're something. You probably wouldn't play it because it's far too cutie. You run along and you jump up and you jump from platform to platform and you pick up Flicky. That's what it's called by Namco.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I'll avoid it. You basically, it's similar. You jump up, but you jump up and down in platforms, and these little fucking things follow you, whatever. But kind of reminded me of that, and I never even thought about the comparison with a certain Andrew Braybrook conversion. We all know what you and I both think of that, and I know Panther's the same, and it's got nothing to do with the fact that we collude when we talk about these things. But so the two games that I played, I remember there was only two baddies that you shoot, and you've got to fucking you've not got. You say that the firepower you get given is insufficient.
Yeah, it's nowhere near enough. I
what you need.
really, yeah, I really hate games like that. R-Type's another one that's guilty of that, and you know I can't stand that either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is something that Psygnosis, like you said, Psygnosis has been guilty of this right from the start. You know, games that look great, but well, actually, I don't even think Killing Game Zone looks that great. But you know, when it came to the actual gameplay, I can only think of one time where they made a game that I actually liked, and actually two. I liked Leander, and I liked. Amazingly, one of the Shadow of the Beast games, but yeah, Shadow of the Beast 3. I like those two. Everything else, nah.
Bollocks. Yeah, I was playing Leander. That was the first game I played actually. I think I wasn't aware of that. I did have a pirate copy of it back in the day, but I never even loaded it. And when you and I were doing, I think we did a 10 games that you've probably never heard of, which you should really play.
I remember that. Yeah, and Leander was one of mine. Yeah.
I picked Dino Eggs, which is a big favourite of yours. It's a fantastic game.
Which one was that?
Dino Eggs.
Oh yeah, that was a great one. That
Dino Eggs. Yeah, and the guy that wrote that, what's his name? Something Schroeder. He actually commented on my video, and he told me that. No, in fact, yeah, he commented on the video, which I thought was pretty great, and he sent me a link to it. He's done a remake of it, and it's not very good. Stick with the original.
I've seen the remake of it, and I was really tempted, but yeah, I've not heard too many overly positive things about it, so I'll probably leave it.
Stick with the original, but yeah, I've not really played that Killing Game Show to comment myself. I thought it was all right, the brief shot I've had of it, but yeah, so it's all fur coating, no knickers, complete lack of any substance, and ultimately boring.
And intensely frustrating.
Yeah, and completely wank sound effects as well, or not.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah. You're sitting there listening and thinking, what the fucking hell they bother putting this in for? May as well have the game just silent and be done with it,
I mean, we're talking about the Amiga. Do you say it's got whatever it is, 5 bloody channels? I mean,
yeah, exactly. 5 channels. There's no reason for it to be like music or sound effects. Easily could have handled bugs. No.
Yeah. I think the problem is Psygnosis, and like a lot of the companies, I know we're not going to talk about them at any great length. Titus Software, they were fucking crazy cars. They just had nice graphics, and there was like the animation and the movement, and that were just absolute shit. But they knew that people had just spent £400 in their brand new, spankingly new Commodore Amiga or Atari ST, and they wanted software. Like, oh fucking look at that, that looks brilliant. And then you put it on, you go, this is fucking pish. But you wanted anything at all. Any game was better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. The early era of the Amiga, had plenty of games like that. I mean, okay, had some good stuff like Dungeon Master, which was fantastic. But yeah.
But we're going to find out another 2 stinkers. So that was your game number 1, Killing Game Show.
Right. So the second one. So this came out in 1992, and it was released by Ocean at a time when Ocean were basically buying every single fucking license for like film and television tie-ins you could possibly imagine. And so often it would be, it would be a license that had you thinking, why the fuck did they even bother getting a license for that? Who's going to want to play a game of that? And there is no better example of this than Cool World. I mean, why would anybody think that if there's one thing Cool World needs, it's a video game made of it? I don't know if you ever saw the film.
I haven't. It's got Kim Basinger in it, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
That's all I know. That is all I know. I've never played the game.
Right. The film is absolute bollocks from start to finish. It's total shit. And in that sense, this is actually quite an accurate film game tie-in, because so is the game, But nothing happens in the film that ever makes you think, oh, that could translate well into a game. Nothing at all. And so you start the game up, and first of all, you've got this like taking an eternity to load, and then you get this intro sequence and shock horror. Oh, it's the Kim Basinger drawing, and she's dancing around. It's so badly animated that at times you can clearly see she's got 4 arms. So so bearing in mind, 4 arms, 2 legs, so she's got 6 limbs. So basically, got an insect that's dancing in front of you. It's really, really badly done, and it really does take a fucking age for it to load. And when it does, it's like, is that it? And I'm not just comparing that to now. I remember thinking that at the time as well, because a mate of mine who used to get loads of like pirated games, he got this. And I had no interest in it, but he did insist on putting it on. So then you get into the game itself, and apart from 1 or 2 sort of characters that look familiar, and maybe 1 or 2 locations that kind of look familiar from the film, there is absolutely nothing there that is in any way connected with what happens in the film. The general premise is, I guess, sort of similar to the film, because like the barriers between the animated world, which is the cool world, and the real world are sort of starting to collapse, and things from the animated world are coming into the real world, and things from the real world are being taken back to the animated world, and when you get into each of the levels, you've got to keep putting the stuff back to like the world that it should be in. But here's an idea of how badly designed the game was, right? What do you suppose you have to do to be able to complete one of the levels?
What have you got to do in it?
Yeah. How? Or right. Let's say you're playing it. You know that you've got to move like the animated stuff back into the animated world, and you've got to get the real stuff from the animated world back into like the real world again.
Is it one of these little fucking things that you got in a Christmas cracker where you go?
No, it's not. It's not quite that bad, right? But here's the thing, and this might give it away, right? In the bottom corner of the screen, you will see a time limit. It's about, I think it's about 4 minutes. Okay. So, what do you think is the thing that makes you, results in you having completed that level and you're ready to go on to the next level?
Well, moving things from the real world, basically moving things from left to right in the right order.
Yeah, that scores points, but that's not how you complete the level.
No, I don't
to complete the level, you wait for the time limit to run out, and then that's it, level done.
So you don't have to complete that, you just wait for the time.
Well, I mean, you can do that. If you let too much stuff go into into the wrong realm, you will eventually lose a life. But if you can get all of that done quickly enough, you can then just stand there for like 30 seconds and just wait for the time limit to run out, and once it does, there you go, level done. I mean, that is surely the very epitome of like really lazy game design.
Yeah.
And everything about the game reeks of, this was a game that was being designed like maybe a year ago, and it got basically left, it wasn't going anywhere, so they just left it. And then someone sort of stumbled across it, and they're like, hang on, we've just got the license for Cool World. Right, fuck it. Change the graphics so they all look like things from Cool World, and use that, and we'll slap it out there. So, I mean, even with my caveat of, games have to look like they've at least made an effort, this barely sort of like scraped in. Because, I mean, they made an effort, I guess, as far as like graphically, but as far as the gameplay goes, it was a total afterthought. The game is rather like Killing Game Show. The game is played in near total silence. The sound effects are staggeringly generic, but there are a few, and I do mean a few. But yeah, the majority of it is in silence. I cannot believe they had the nerve to charge £25 for this.
I think, I mean, there were some bad games. Well, in fact, there's a lot of bad games in the 8-bit machines, but we could kind of make excuses for them because they were early games, and at the end of the day, what was the software available? There was fuck all. So when somebody made a half-arsed attempt at Space Invaders, you thought, oh, that's actually all right. The problem is when you got like the Commodore Amiga, the Atari ST, they were very, very capable graphically, and it's just, you know, the same with Crazy Cars and all these other games. They got some guy for college who could actually draw, but you know, that's fine. Just fuck it, the lack of gameplay. Oh, don't worry about fucking. We'll charge £40, and these fucking idiots will buy it anyway. People were buying it because of it's got Kim Basinger, or it's got a big.
Exactly, yeah. That is, I think that's hit the nail on the head there. The reason this game sold, it didn't sell great, but what copies of it did sell was it had the Kim Basinger drawing on the front of the box, and the intro sequence had the Kim Basinger drawing doing its insect dancing. That was why it sold.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I'm not a fan of any of these Ocean film tie-ins. Not a fan of them at all.
No.
I don't know whether it was I was an older gamer, I was a more mature gamer than kids that wanted to play the Untouchables or RoboCop, but they're just a collection of little mini sub games supposedly based around excitement to the film, and they're just crap.
Yeah, I mean, it was Platoon's was the one that got that started, and because Platoon was about the only around that time, Platoon was the only like film tie-in game that Ocean had made that was actually any good.
Yeah.
So of course they milked that format for all they could. Every fucking film tie-in was done in exactly the same way. Of course, at the end, you're going to get sick of it. You know, you want them to do something new. But no, you're getting the same old fucking shit again. So, Platoon and I guess Batman the movie, they were okay.
I was going to say Batman the movie was good.
Yeah, but after that, and also I say, Ocean were basically, they were buying up every fucking license they could get their hands on, and you would see this stuff being advertised in magazines, and you would just be thinking, why are you making a game of this? You know, the Addams Family, fucking Hudson Hawk. You know, who's this aimed at? You know, who the fuck is going to want to play a game of this sort of shit? Yeah, and of course, Cool World itself, you know, that really was scraping the barrel.
And then did you not have, I mean, one of the, the best sort of like modern films, science fiction films like Terminator 2, great film. The game was absolutely garbage. Again, it had beautiful graphics, and it was just diabolical. I think the first part was like that little thing you get with Christmas crackers. You've got to move little sliding blocks. And then there's a bit of him. I think you only see the top half of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's just punching it. You literally just hammer the fire button. It's fuck all gameplay. And then you had shit like Ghostbusters 2. I don't think that was Ocean that enough, but I don't think there was any decent film tie-in. Blues Brothers wasn't bad. Funnily enough, that was by Titus. That wasn't a bad little platform game. But apart from that, I can't think of any film tie-in that was.
Yeah, I
complete shit.
Yeah, I did not like the Blues Brothers game at all. Mind you, I don't like the film either. So,
well,
I think the game you were talking about there, where you only see like the top half of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think that's Red Heat, which is even worse than Terminator 2, actually.
That was an ocean one again, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Another ocean one. Buying up licenses galore and then just turning out absolute shite, you know. I don't know how the fuck were they able to get away with it for so long? How many like licensed games that were complete shit did they have to release before, like, you know, the game buying public finally cottoned on to the fact that no, they're always going to be shite, don't waste your money. They just kept on doing it and people kept on buying it. See, that probably explains why the games were all shit, because they got away with it.
Yeah, they could afford
people,
it.
Yeah, people kept on buying it, so they could just release any old load of bollocks and people would go and buy the thing.
Although ultimately it did catch up in Ocean because they released Robocop 3 on the Amiga, and it had a specific dongle, a piece of hardware. I was playing a pirate copy of it like a month before it was released, and everybody was playing the pirate copy. It was pirated to hell before it even. I don't think they made a penny on it. But it was crap as well, anyway. So
yeah, that's right. I had that. That was the one. It was all like 3D polygons, wasn't it?
It was, hasn't aged at all well.
No.
So yeah, we can. Could we possibly put a lot of these film? Are you with this cool world? Is that going to kind of pull in the general sort of multi-level film tie-in things, or is it specifically? Cool spot,
I mean, I would say it's specifically this one because this one didn't have multi-levels. All the levels were all exactly the same. You know, they were all platform games, and you know, going in between, you know, the real world and the cool world, and putting stuff back where it should be. So, yeah, this one is kind of on its own. The multi-level ones, this isn't part of it.
Yeah, it's funny when you think about Ocean, actually. In fact, did they make any original games? High Noon was original.
Oh yeah, stuff like, you know, Parallax, Whizball.
Yeah, well, that was Sensible Software really that made these. But yeah, I mean, you think about like Mr. Wimpy was Burger Time, Donkey Kong, and then you had an atrocious. What was that absolutely atrocious game in the Commodore 64 based on a science fiction program? Is it W's? No, V. That's it. V. Yeah. What shit that is.
Yeah, I knew you'd get around to mentioning V at some point. No, I don't care which. V's a great game. I love that one. That is one of those very rare exceptions in the old film tie-ins, well, television tie-ins with that one.
I mean, they did V. They did. Oh bloody! Not Transformers, Zoids.
Yeah, Transformers was one of theirs. Yeah, Zoids wasn't. Zoids was Martech. That wasn't Ocean.
Right. And then, of course, did they not also do one of the frequently terrible games ever was Highlander?
Oh yeah, that was another one where you look at it and you think, yeah, there was no effort put into this. I mean, Martin Galway did an okay version of Kind of Magic for it, but as far as the actual game went, yeah, there was no effort made in that at all.
Yeah, okay, game number 2. Right, I'm going to put your misery pretty quick. You've only got one to go.
Right, okay. Now, I was going to change this last one because it got chosen in a previous, I was going to say video. Well, actually, it was a video when it was when it appeared before. But I couldn't change it because it absolutely deserves its place here. So from 1990, yeah, again for the Amiga, it is Yolanda. I think unquestionably the most hateful gaming experience ever created in the history of video games. And I am 100% convinced of this. I think the guy that made this hated people who played video games and deliberately set out to make a game that was so obnoxious and so hateful that, you know, it was there purely to piss the players off. it's I mean, just thinking about it now is getting me like really fucking annoyed.
I don't want to give any spoilers. Well, it doesn't matter if you've watched the last one, but yeah, I mean, it's a single screen platform game, well, obviously with different levels, and the idea you've got to try and get from like the start of the level and climb up on the rope to complete the level. Is that what? Have you got to collect something again, or you just got to try and
You've just got to, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've just got to be able to get to the exit area there. So it's based on the 12. Is it 12? The 12 labels of Hercules. I think it's 12.
Something like that. Something.
And each level is actually in 2 parts. So there are 24 levels, but yeah, in order to access the second lot of 12, you've got to be able to do the previous level before it first.
I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
It's There have been a few times in like videos that I've done where I've again said stuff to be deliberately inflammatory. You know, like the one I always remember was at the end when I did my review of Ninja Hamster. At the end of it, I said I hope everyone connected with this game dies of cancer, and I even had like comments from people saying, "Did you really mean that?" You know, I was like, "Fuck it, are you seriously asking me that question?" You know, when I did my review of Yolanda, I can't remember who I said it, but I definitely wrote it in the description. And this time I didn't say it to be inflammatory. I absolutely mean this. I hope that the cunt that created this game had people punching him in the face just for creating this, and then having the nerve to charge 25 quid, you know, to endure something that all it does is just make your blood boil.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's also one of those rather like Cool World where, okay, I said it should be a game where an effort was made. There is a lot of places in this game where you can see no effort was made at all. Because, I mean, you know, this is just like the 16-bit version of Hercules on the 64. Mm. And at the start of each level, there's this huge great wall of text which nobody ever reads. But if you do read it on the Yolanda, they have just copied and pasted it directly from the 64 game. So it's constantly making references to Hercules is now going to do blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, Hercules isn't in this game. You're not even playing the part of a bloke, you're playing a woman. How can it possibly be Hercules? But the text is constantly, you know, it's absolutely convinced, oh, no, it's Hercules in this thing. The word Yolanda never appears anywhere in any of that text.
So, do you reckon this guy, now I actually, yeah, because I was doing the Amiga platform stream on Sunday, somebody asked me to play it. And yeah, it's just fucking infuriating. It's completely unfair. It's not a challenge. It's like, the level starts, it's like, if I stand still, oh, dead.
Yeah.
Oh, I better run, oh, dead. It's just boom, 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 kills you constantly. Now, the guy that wrote the Amiga one is actually, I can't remember his name, he's actually gone on to do normal games. So do you reckon he has plagiarised, he's obviously played it in the C64, and he's thought, fuck it, I'm going to write a version for the Amiga, and he's literally just plagiarised it and stolen text and just made it 10 times. I mean, Hercules is a terrible game, but it's not as bad as Yolanda. Yolanda is completely unplayable.
Yeah, Yolanda is far worse than Hercules. Hercules at least has the decency to be largely silent while you're playing it.
And it only cost £1.99.
Well, it did when it was re-released. Yeah, when it first came out, it was full price. But yeah, thankfully, not many people saw it when it was first published, because it first came out in about 84. It was a really early game. But yeah, the re-release came along in about 86, 87, and that was when it was the budget price. I'd be very reluctant to suggest that he plagiarised it. I have a feeling, actually, that the guy who wrote Yolanda is the same bloke that wrote Hercules. I don't know for sure, but I think that might be the case. And yeah, rather than, actually put a hell of a lot, I mean, I suspect he knew no one's going to read all this text anyway, so there's no point in me writing out anything different. So he did just copy and paste it, and for whatever reason, he forgot to, just do a spell check or a search and replace Hercules with Yolanda. So yeah, the game is still constantly making references to Hercules all the time, even though Hercules never actually shows up at any point.
If you're going
I was going to say another infuriating thing about this game, one of many. Yeah, I found out when I did my review that if you actually get on the high score sheet, if you type off "fuck off, you cunt," it censors your name. Yeah, I wasn't too pleased about that either. Yeah, you can't have "fuck off, you cunt" as your name on the high score sheet. Which yeah, there's no excuse for that. You know what I think though is the most annoying thing about this game. Even though, let's say, the game is, I think Shadows summed it up perfectly when he said the game's trolling you. It absolutely is. Yeah. The most unbearable thing about it is when you first start, and it does that countdown, and it has that unbearable fucking like siren like noise, like all the way through. You sort of, you're sitting there thinking, God, hurry up and die just to stop that noise. It's like, okay, making the game so awful to play wasn't bad enough. I've got to add something else to make it truly awful. Right, let's have a really irritating sound effect there.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I'll need to double check who wrote it, and I'll need to go into fucking LinkedIn and Facebook and try and track him down and ask him, get him on here with us, and we'll pin him down and say, what the fuck were you doing? I mean, there's games that are challenging, and then there's Yolanda, which is quite clearly an exercise in just trying to make it impossible.
I mean, the ridiculous thing is, it's not impossible, but it has been coded so deliberately to be unbearably hard. I mean, I like games that are a challenge. I much prefer games to be a challenge than games that are really easy and get through them no problem. But this just took it to ludicrous extremes. And the time limits at the start are so tight that if you can go like, in either direction, left or right, if you take just one step in the wrong direction, then you can't get to the right place before the time limit's out and the platform you're on bursts into flames. Oh, you're dead again. So yeah, that's just taking a piss, though.
Did you say that was full price? That was like a £35 game.
Well, yeah, I think it was 25 quid game. I mean, can you imagine having shelled out 25 quid and you got that? I mean, I got the game pirated, and I will quite happily admit, yeah, I did not fucking spend 1 penny on that game, and I didn't even wipe the disc. I snapped it. I was that fucked off with the game.
You didn't even use it to make a copy of something else?
No, I was that pissed off with it. I snapped the disc and chucked it away.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, there we go, folks. Yeah, that's game number 3. So what was it? Yolanda, Cool World, and
Killing Game Show.
Killing Game Show, yep. 3. I'm not going to argue with any of these at all. Yeah, listen, that is it. I want to thank everybody for listening and tuning in tonight or today, whenever it is you're listening to this. And I just want to say a big thank you to yourself, Lukozer. You know my feelings. You're more than welcome to come on my channel anytime. I think you are the one of the most requested people to say, when are you going to make another video? I said, I don't fucking know.
Well, there you go.
Always, the doors.
You can tell them to shut the fuck up now. I've been here.
The door's always open, mate. You know where I am. I know people would. I mean that sincerely. You know, the fun we've had over the years making these things is brilliant. You know, there's plenty of mileage for other things as well. So thanks for joining me, Lukozer. It's been a blast. Until next time, folks. As always, thank you very much for listening.